Previously on Pony Wars, we met the 3 build teams competing against each other to build the best 2019 pony car for the autocross, drag strip, and dyno, all on a $10,000 budget. We've installed our baseline parts and run the baseline dyno numbers for the Camaro and the Mustang.
Oh, yes! Yes! Brian, I made 442, 398.
Yep, I'm aware.
Now it's the Challenger's turn.
Basically, here's the deal.
This is going to be a competition, and we are coming to win.
We're delirious. Dude, this smells like grape jelly.
Hey, Chad, what's going on?
What's going on is 442 horsepower, thank you very much. 398 foot-pounds of torque, and that's all before any of the Pro Charger mods. That's just baseline. That's before 1,275 CFM and up to 900 horsepower from our P1X. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you got nothing, and it's going to be hard for you to keep up with.
Yeah, no, the Challenger's going to show up to win, man, but those numbers are great and everything.
Yeah, so what are you doing? How's the weather up there?
Oh, it's just blazing hot. I'm just burning up over here. It's so warm.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what are you wearing?
Horsepower. Hey, we're here at Arrington. There's Mike. He's waving at us. You can see behind me a brand new 2019 Challenger RT Scat Pack. It has the Dynamics brake package, which is really cool. Big, fat rotors and calipers on the front. Really nice. I love this. Overall, the car looks and sounds awesome. We already did some bolt-on mods, right? And this is something else that's really cool. It actually has a functioning hood scoop. It's open. It's not fake. Didn't put a sticker on there and say, oh, it's got a hood scoop. It's actually functional. Did a Canon intake, keeps the heat away. Also did some Corsa long tube headers, catback, and E3 ignition components, along with some Lucas oil in the engine. And that's what we're gonna talk about next. I wanna talk about Arrington Performance and your history with working on these kinds of cars.
Arrington today focuses exclusively on Gen 3 Hemi. So we do everything from a simple one part all the way through engine builds. And then we do complete cars. You can ship a car into us, pick your horsepower number, and pick what you want done, and we'll build it.
And this is your own personal car. I love that you said we do complete cars, because that's exactly what we're doing with this 2019 Scat Pack.
This is going to be my rental car, so we're going to successfully see if we can beat this thing without mercy. I will guarantee you that through its lifetime with me, it gets multiple sets of rear tires.
Because out of the 3 cars, let's be honest, this one makes more power factory.
That's part of having a 392 Hemi.
Exactly. And you did bolt-on mods starting with like a Canon intake and a Corsa exhaust, right?
As anybody that's ever followed anything about K&N knows, they build some really nice products. They have basically a 1,000,000-mile filter. It can be washed and cleaned. They do a really nice job with heat shields, sealing it to the hood to make sure that you get cool air. Their intake tubes, most of them are plastic, and that helps prevent heat transfer, and they fit well and they make power. The exhaust was a work of art in this car. So these are all full stainless steel, 1 7/8 tube, headers, 3-inch collector on them. Of course, goes back to a full Corsa 2 3/4-inch stainless exhaust. The exhaust system on this, all mandrel bent, all factory style hangers. I mean, there's no tweaking, there's no cutting, there's no welding, there's none of that, right? It just goes in and fits. They used a really good band style clamps that go around every piece so it's not coming loose. And then they do a gorgeous 4-tip polished stainless out the back.
I love how it looks and how it sounds, especially. It is such an improvement from the factory stuff. And you went with Lucas on everything, right?
Lucas front to back. So we used Lucas, their 10W40 in the engine. We replaced the transmission fluid as well with the Lucas, and they make a fluid. And that's really critical because this has an 8-speed automatic, and there are very few fluids that you can use that'll actually meet the requirements of this transmission. Did the differential in this. This one has the 309 ratio in it, and it has the heavier duty diff. So we put the Lucas in there. It has the friction modifier for the limited slip. We also updated the brake fluid, and we took it all to the .4 that they manufacture. We plan to put a little temperature in the brakes on this one. So we wanted to make sure we had fluid that would support that.
It's gonna make a huge difference. So let's get on the dyno and see how much horsepower it makes, and let's hurt some Mustang and Camaro feelings. All right, the Challenger is all washed up. It's ready for the dyno. From the factory, they rate the 6.4 liter Hemi V8 under the hood of this thing at 485 horsepower. The Mustang made 442 to the tire with the bolt-on mods, and the Camaro made 432, I think. I'm not gonna fall into the trap of guessing, and I bet the number's gonna be pretty big. All right, that exhaust sounds incredible. It's a lot deeper tone, but it's not super raspy. When he first fired it up and gave it that little blip, oh. All right, so they're just getting the Challenger strapped onto the dyno. All the mods are finished. I don't know what power it's gonna make. I'm not gonna give a number. I know the Mustang made 442. I know the Camaro made 432, but the 6.4 liter Hemi under the hood, see what it makes.
So let's try one more.
Go ahead and give it another hit.
Oh man, that Mustang and that Camaro are in trouble. So 466.2 horsepower to the tire and 431.5 on torque to the tire, which is significantly more than the Mustang or the Camaro. I'm just saying.
We're gonna add a little bit of pressure.
15 to 20, somewhere in there?
Yeah, we're only gonna give it all it's got.
We're only gonna give it all the horsepower.
We are the underdog, you know.
Not anymore, not after seeing those numbers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they won't see those numbers till it's too late.
They'll see their taillights before they'll see those numbers. So the Challenger is done on the dyno with the bolt-on mods finished. And if some of you were afraid of the Challenger, well, you had a right to be, because it just made more power than the Mustang. I think around 24 horsepower to the tire more, and torque, it made more as well. So it is what it is. Now it's time for boost.
Team Challenger is starting this competition with the most powerful power plant, and we intend to capitalize on it. Mike is giving the engine a taste of the Arrington treatment with some engine upgrades, but we also intend to make the most out of our dynamics package with some adjustable coilovers that will make this an all-around threat. The Hemi is getting a drop-in piston rod combo that Arrington developed with Molly and Manley to handle the D1X blower, as well as a cam and valve spring upgrade. G-force axles and Ride-Tech coilovers take a large chunk of the budget as well.
Now that the front wheels are off, you can actually see how massive these brakes are. I mean, I have a pretty big hand. I believe these are like 15.4 inches in diameter. They're huge, and then 6 piston calipers, and they actually said these are pretty light.
We're going to win. There's no question in that. And we've done everything we can within the rules without reinventing a whole bunch of, you know, secretive stuff and everything else.
I think that all the builders are gonna be civil. I don't know so much on the hosts though.
You know, one of the hosts, Dennis, he's already kind of thrown a gauntlet down. I reminded him, you should be careful those words you put out, because they're never as sweet when you have to eat them back.
All right, it's about time to get started. Myself and Team Vengeance are gonna take this 2019 Camaro SS and whoop some ass. It's a simple plan, let's get started. Team Camaro is taking a straightforward approach to winning. Make power and lots of it. Oh, that's it. Right from the get-go, who stole the key to the car?
I deny any collusion.
Oh, there's collusion. God, this thing is tight under here. Ron from Vengeance has spent much of his $10,000 budget into some stout engine mods with some light suspension mods to make the car a bit more autocross friendly. A complete LT4 fuel systems brings the SS up to ZL1 specs, which will be pushed to the limit with a D1X ProCharger.
And you didn't spill that much. I'm kind of impressed. That is unbelievable to me how poorly done that is. Like, that is legitimately, wow. Like, I want to take a picture of that and send it to my GM friends.
It's a good thing I got the guys from Vengeance. There's way too many plugins under here. A comp cam, LME ported heads, and drop-in piston rod combo from Molly and Molnar should make some serious power. Just the springs, sway bars, and control arms will be upgraded to BMR pieces. Job opportunity.
Hey, somebody's got to do this shit. That's what I'm gonna do. Mopping.
Job for everybody.
Hey.
We don't have to do like half of the things or 3/4 of the things the other teams are gonna do to their engines. Oh, I'm not even, yeah, that's why we don't even care.
Nothing like taking apart a 299-mile engine. Happens every day at Vengeance Racing.
All right, it's my chance to introduce you to the team that's going to be taking the Camaro to the front. It is Team Vengeance. Now, Ron, why don't you introduce the team and who we have with us today?
Dennis, I brought with me Josh Langlis and Taylor Norris, two of our technicians from Vengeance Racing. These guys spend their days building LS and LT platform vehicles day in and day out, 6, sometimes 7 days a week.
Well, these guys certainly know what they're doing, and I'm going to let these two go and do what they do best while you and I take a look at this engine. Thanks, guys, so much. I want to ask you, what is, in your opinion, the state of Chevrolet and performance?
You know, the LT1 is still new to us a little bit. We've stayed tried and true to the LS market, now obviously the LT market, but always loyal to General Motors. It's one of those things I felt like I would rather be great at one thing than good at many. Our customer base ranges from a guy that wants simple bolt-ons to a guy that wants a 1,500 horse street car that he can daily drive.
Even I got a chance to help you tear the car down, but you guys have already noticed some changes.
We saw that the factory LT1 fuel pump is a complete redesign, as is the connector.
It really comes down to how's it going to stack up against our competition.
Well, you know, Dennis, all three of the big manufacturers have done an amazing job putting out awesome vehicles the past couple of years. It's like we're reliving the 60s and 70s all over again. That being said, I tend to live life looking forward, not in the rear view, so I can't tell you wholeheartedly how the Mustang and Challenger stack up with the aftermarket because the Camaro is always out in front.
Well said. Well, Ron, let's take a look at some of these parts, but before we do that, you give me the overall strategy for our Camaro.
The strategy is simple, and that's to win, okay? We came out here to win, and we want to dominate every event that we possibly can. We feel like we can make the most horsepower with the LT, so that should take the dyno wars. We feel like we can take the drag racing as well. The car just works with this package we've put together for it. Forced induction, stock driveline for the most part with that A10 trans and converter, fueling to support the modifications, and then a host of BMR suspension to get us around the autocross.
All right, Ron, one of the things I want to talk about first is these Molly pistons. Now, one of the things that I do not have is experience with direct injection. And you really kind of gave me a quick know-how on why these pistons are different. I mean, besides the fact that they got the Vengeance Racing on it, but maybe take me through what makes these different and why they're so important to a build like this.
Well, number one, the LT1 was not designed for forced induction. And what we found through our research on previous vehicles is about 650 wheel horsepower, you can actually start to crack the ring lands on the factory pistons. So we reached out with Molly and worked with their engineers to design a forged piston that we could drop in without rebalancing the rotating assembly that would give us the strength and durability to make the power that we want with no concerns there. What you mentioned here, the biggest difference on these DI engines is there's a fuel bowl. And what that does is the chamber, since we have a DI fuel injector, it's spraying directly into the combustion chamber now at about 3,000 PSI. So that fuel actually hits this fuel bowl and atomizes in the cylinder versus just spraying on the cylinder wall itself and wearing it over time.
Well, one of the things I want to do is talk about this camshaft. Now, we got this out earlier, and this is the key right here to more fuel. Walk me through this.
Basically, what you see here is the fuel pump lobe on the camshaft itself. This is going to drive that mechanical LT4 fuel pump upgrade that we're going to put in. Comp has engineered this to be 32% larger than stock. So that's going to drive that pump effectively 32% greater capacity than it does in stock form, and give us more fuel system supply.
Well, we got to put more fuel in it. We got to deliver more fuel, and that's where this stuff comes in. LT4 pump, LT4 injectors, that's drop-in, correct?
Correct.
And then you're using a ZL1 pump, and there's a reason behind that because really it's kind of plug and play, and it's already forced induction.
Absolutely, yeah. The ZL1 pump is plug and play, designed by General Motors for a forced induction vehicle, but it'll bolt right into the naturally aspirated 2019 Camaro as well. And then the LT4 injectors, again, plug and play. With the lack of aftermarket in the fuel system upgrades for the DI market, GM's already done it for us. We've got probably 40% greater fuel capacity with these items right here than we do with what came in the car stock.
It's all about the cylinder heads. Now this is going to be the big 1-2 punch when it comes to this motor making power. Take me through the difference between this stock LT1 head and these LME supplied CNC ported heads.
Well, we've worked with late model engines for years. Brian and his guys are just on point. They deliver a consistent quality product that works very well for us. We use their CNC cylinder heads for many reasons. The CNC work is going to provide additional airflow. It's going to make some more power. In factory form, the exhaust ports from GM do not flow as well as we would like, especially in a big supercharged application. So we've got CNC'd exhaust ports, CNC'd intake ports. They come equipped with a dual valve spring setup with titanium retainers, all the hardware we need for that aftermarket camshaft and to turn additional RPM. We also have reshaped combustion chambers, as well as CNC chambers. And then most importantly, we got away from the stock two-piece exhaust valve, going to a single stainless exhaust valve, which, as you know, with forced induction, higher temperatures, increased cylinder pressures, we don't want to risk any sort of exhaust valve failure in this competition.
Well, really all these parts and your experience and your team's experience comes down to one thing. We're going to win.
Exactly. We didn't come here to play. We came here to win.
Enough said.
For Team Mustang, we are betting on the boost. James and the rest of the Ford Next team already know we'll be happy with the power our Coyote makes supercharged, so we are focusing on supporting and planning that power with suspension mods on top of suspension mods. We plan to max out our smaller P1X blower using Livernois billet oil pump gears on the otherwise stock Coyote with supporting fuel system upgrades. That allows us to spend the majority of our budget on an adjustable Steeda suspension with separate springs for the drag strip and autocross that we'll swap out as needed. We were able to throw their whole catalog at it and even upgrade the axles and drive shaft with parts from G-Force. One of the exciting things about this whole competition to me is that you have three absolutely iconic muscle cars, competing against each other. And we like to romanticize the fact that a 69 Camaro was amazing, or, a 67 Mustang was amazing, or a Challenger or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, there has never been a better Mustang than today. Never. And there's a whole lot of technology that makes that possible.
When I bought this car, I got in the car and I drove this car and I was like, this is almost too nice to modify.
Right.
I mean, it's got 10-speed automatic, which is an upgrade from the 6-speed. It's got the dual fuel, which is kind of a hybrid between port injection and direct fuel injection.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference. I mean, it makes 450 horsepower, right? Or is it
460?
Yeah, 460.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
We made 442 at the tire with just exhaust and intake mod.
So, I mean, the car's really refined. It handles well. I mean, it's pretty an amazing car.
Well, and you have a bunch of experience modifying Mustangs. I mean, you've been really fast in a bunch of stuff that is not stock.
Well, that's partly why I wanted to build this Mustang, because it kind of pissed me off. Because there was a lot of people that said, that I wasn't a Ford guy. And,
right.
I started the NMRA Drag Racing Series. I built 8 or 10 Mustangs.
Yeah.
I've got, one of the fastest X275 Mustangs in the world.
Yeah.
And, we know Mustangs, so we're going to go out and we're going to win this thing, so.
But even though we have all this technology and how good the car is, like you said, we're still going to modify things while taking advantage of that, though. So you mentioned the port injection and the direct injection. So the DI injectors are under the intake manifold, but we have traditional port injectors here. But I got to tell you, these FIC injectors, dude, those are almost too pretty to hide.
These are so beautiful. I don't know if you can see these. I kind of don't even want to put them in the engine.
I know, because they will be really hidden in this thing.
So they're 1,000cc, 95-pound injectors. And so when you combine that with the dual fuel direct injection, you get kind of the best of the efficiencies of direct injection combined with the horsepower opportunities. It's almost like they did this on purpose for us guys that are going to modify cars.
And it allows us too to take advantage of a couple other things, right? So this Ford has 12-to-1 compression. It has better pistons and rods than any of the other combos. So we don't have to do one thing. I stole this from the Chevrolet team.
Don't tell.
So this is one of theirs.
This is not a modular piston.
No, this is for the LT, and this is a new rod and piston that they have to put in.
It's pretty.
It is pretty, and it's strong, and it's great. And
they're over there with their engine out, working on their engine, and we're just talking about their engine. You notice our engine's actually in our
yes, still in the car. Well, and so, I mean, I'm a fan of Molly pistons. Like, there's a part of me that goes, ooh, I wish we could use them, but I'm really happy not to be using the money because we get to use it on other stuff.
Look, I know you have a Chevy tattoo and all,
yes.
But I want to show you for the Chevy guys. It includes this helpful arrow just in case those Chevy guys don't know what direction to put them in. Look, Ron's coming over. He's upset.
Not to interrupt you guys, okay? But now you're dealing with GM internal parts.
Yeah.
And I just finished printing off. I couldn't help but hear you say that you guys know Fords extremely well. We went ahead and printed off the all data for
awesome,
you. So
thank
that you can time your engine appropriately when you swap your little cam gear.
Hey, I'll give you your piston back in a minute.
It's probably a bit much, but you do your
So this is a beautiful piston.
It is.
We
awesome.
just don't need them in the Mustang.
Mustang comes with forged pistons and rods already, and so that gives us a little bit of an advantage. We think we can live with this and make real power without actually breaking into the bottom end of this thing.
But the money we're
saved, yes.
We said that at the same time.
I know, but it's awesome because we saved a ton of money.
The dual suspension system. So Steeda is one of the top Mustang suspension manufacturers, and we have all these just awesome Steeda goodies. So we decided with our budget to be able to basically build 2 different suspension options. So we went with a set of high-end handling sway bars and these really awesome gnarly handling springs from Steeda that are really thick and big. And then we also have over here like a really light drag suspension setup. So we went with drag springs. And then you can see like some of the upgrades, like pick up this gnarly sway bar.
Dude, this thing is like, ugh.
So I want to demonstrate my strength here. You see that? Chad's so strong, he's got to use 2 hands. I can pick it up with my pinky.
Yeah, because the front one is solid and the rear one is hollow.
And so our whole strategy is, have a setup for the autocross and then have a setup for the drag strip. So the money we saved, we're putting in here.
And so all we're doing is changing the springs. We have the adjustability and everything else we have.
So the shocks will be able to be adjustable from drag to street.
Which is awesome.
And then sway bars will remove for drag use. Yep. So we'll go autocross with the sway bars. And then we had a lot of money. So unlike the Camaro again, we're really kind of being so hard on him.
Yeah, but we have to be.
We went with G-Force. They're kind of the leader in the independent suspension drivetrain side. So we got, this really badass aluminum drive shaft, got axles. And what's funny is the Camaro has pistons, but it has no upgraded drivetrain. But they have a piston with an arrow on it, so it's okay.
It is okay. If we had no traction, none of this matters. But when you have a set of Toyos like this and how much grip these are gonna offer, that really can tear up parts.
On the drag racing side, everybody is running the Toyo TQ. So that's kind of, a standard control tire, so to speak.
Yeah.
We got some choices for the autocross. It's the RR or the R888. R. It's a lot of R's.
There's a lot of R's and a lot of 8s, dude. But the difference between them is one of them is ultra sticky 100 treadwear, and the other one is ultra sticky 0 treadwear. Yeah. And even though they're technically both street legal, the RR is like the full tilt.
Well, the RR is a 40 treadwear.
Yeah.
It's a next level up, but it also is kind of like more of a slick design. It's unclear which of these tires is gonna be better. So it's gonna be interesting to see which tire kind of comes out on top. We have to pick one before the competition.
Oh, okay.
So we have 2 sets for photos, but we can pick either one. So you have, the clock's ticking, man.
So now let's talk about the Hemi and the car that you just undertook.
So when I agreed to go into this, basically I had to go buy a car.
And so as far as the car being heavier than the Mustang and the Camaro, how are you kind of going after that with, some security in the bottom end, using your limited budget in areas that you really think the Challenger can shine?
So it's really critical that we have performance and we have dependability.
And you're putting some pretty cool components in the bottom end to make it strong, and you're also going with a fairly large Pro Charger to kind of keep up and hopefully surpass that Camaro and that Mustang.
Every part for a Mopar costs more than a part for a Ford or a Chevy. God, I think they put those out on trash day. So we don't have that luxury. but you can't compromise on quality. From the standpoint of the pistons, you know, we went to Mall for those, total seal rings. Because we're gonna put a Pro Charger on top of it, we got a D1X, and we plan to spin it to the limit.
Everybody expects the Challenger to do well on the dyno and at the drag strip, but what about handling? What about, you know, the autocross and the braking? I mean, are you going after all the points?
The car was spec'd specifically for competing in this event. I'm not new to this game, right? I've been doing this a long time, and I've built road course race cars, I've built drag cars, I've built mile cars, I've built all of the different things. The only option this car has is a dynamics package. We get the rear seat delete, we get rid of a bunch of weight. Now you add in the dynamics package, which is massive, 15.4-inch front rotors, 6-piston calipers on the front. It's 4-piston, they're all Brembo on the rear. I mean, it's set up for that. I think they all expect the Hemi to come strong for the dyno and for the drag strip. It's very difficult under normal circumstances to make a car perform on an autocross and make it work on a drag strip. So that's quite a challenge between those two things. A large section of our budget is towards making this car handle. And our goal is to shock them. We're coming to win. If everything works like it should, and I'm not usually wrong, we will surprise a bunch of them when we show up on the autocross course.
So we're just getting to the end of day one. Gene and Daryl and Mitch. I remembered his name, Mitch. They're all working on the car, but the day is almost over. After this, dude, the Challenger made 466 horsepower to the tire. That is way more than the Mustang. That's way more than the Camaro. I mean, it's no longer the underdog, all right? They're talking about it being a big whale, not making any power. Yeah, well, guess what? It's on top right now. So stay tuned. Next episode, we're gonna check out the builds and let's make it a competition, yeah?
Of course, I can't tell you what they are. We'd have to kill all of you.
That's why we're gonna win.
Oh, dude, no way. Okay, ready?
You have no parts off the car.
I think your dad is awesome, but I will beat him.